welcome to the Meet RX Success Story podcast. I'm here today with Annabel, and she's going to share her success with us. Hi, Annabel.
Hi.
Thank you for coming to our show, and I wanted to begin by asking you, what was your life like and what were your health conditions like before coming to Carnivore? And you can do a little introduction about yourself too, if you'd like to.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So before the Carnivore Diet, it's quite a long story of how I transitioned onto it. But when I was young, although I was always into health and fitness, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was going along very much the mainstream narrative of calories in and calories out, that kind of thing. And as long as it fits your macros and that a little bit of everything is fine, you know, the typical way of living and eating that eventually leads many people into trouble. I moved to London to go to university, and I actually studied interior design, but I actually met my coach who helped me transform my health and my body. And he led me down the rabbit hole, but I began to research more and more and more. And I just wanted to know what else could be done, what could make me be even better, what could make me stronger, what could make me healthier. And so eventually this led me to the Carnivore Diet, and I started this in March. But before that, I guess the transition after the SAD diet, what I was eating was pretty much a low carb paleo for most of the time anyway, which was fine. But what I noticed from that diet, what was happening is that a lot of things did clear up. For example, my skin cleared up nicely. I got leaner, all the inflammation dropped, but there were certain things that had happened to me that were obviously my own doing from, I guess, years of eating more of a SAD or balanced diet, such as chronic staph infections, strep infections, and then obviously the antibiotics, which just spirals and makes everything worse. Now I know there's a natural cure for everything if you need it, which is amazing. But during that time, obviously, I'd accumulated all of those problems, and even though doing low carb paleo eliminated a lot of my issues, there were things that just weren't disappearing, things that I thought I would always have and always be riddled with, because this diet was there to kind of make everything be okay and not make anything worse, but not necessarily heal. Maybe for some people it's different, but that's what happened to me. And then what I believe is that the true healing really started when I did transition into the Carnivore Diet. But the healing happened in a way that I would have never expected it to.
Wow, that's incredible that you got that much healing too from paleo, and you had a nice coach that was helping you through. That's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about the Carnivore Diet, and how did you implement it? And also, did you have any transitional issues?
So how I found out about it was that obviously I had been doing paleo, but at this point I was doing cooking videos on YouTube on my channel for my coach's clients, because I was doing good results. I was basically always clean, very disciplined, very strict with my diet, and I became really good at cooking. I loved it. It just became my thing. And his clients, his new clients, some old clients, were asking him for recipes and food recommendations. So he suggested that I start doing these cooking videos for them so that they can have somewhere that he can basically just refer people to. And so I began doing that, and I loved it. And then I just wanted to find out more and just kind of, I guess, make my channel better and make myself more valuable to these clients, to any new clients. So somehow on Amazon, I just came across the Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino. And to be honest with you, when I first ordered the book, it came onto my Kindle. And when I first ordered it, I thought that it would just be a book talking about the benefits of red meat and the benefits of protein. And that was important to me because so many people, I mean, I don't know what it's like in America, but here in the UK, definitely people are so scared of red meat, terrified. I mean, people have pretty much just considered it to be worse for you than smoking around here. So I needed a book like that to just kind of understand. I obviously knew the benefits of protein myself, but to have somebody else formulate it into a book, I thought, okay, this is good. I can read here, see what he has to say, and then I can just use this, direct the clients this, and then take bits of this and use the research. And then when it turned out that the book was just pretty much the carnivore diet without any vegetables. It blew my mind. And although I was kind of confused reading it, the more I got into it, the more I realized that it just made sense, because some of these issues that, as I told you, I thought that I was riddled with, one of them had been that as of recent, I'd started to just get more bloated. And so what would happen is breakfast would be fine. And then after I had lunch, which would always be some kind of protein and a huge salad, I would end up looking pregnant and just feeling uncomfortable. And I thought that it was because I just had some unresolved digestive issues, and that now that my diet was becoming cleaner, I was becoming more sensitive to it. But then when I read the carnivore code and he talked about obviously these plant toxins, it just made so much sense. So then literally the next day I was in and I tried it, just ate steak, and I was so shocked at how flat my stomach was. And to be honest with you, people will always be the first to demonize the protein, right? So if you're bloated, if there's anything wrong, straight away, oh, it's probably the protein. But the fact that my stomach was so flat, I felt so good. I think one of the weirdest things about it, and maybe not necessarily a transitional issue, but something that I just found slightly weird at the start, was how you can eat and you feel good and satiated and you feel like you don't need any more, but you don't have that full feeling, if you know what I mean, where you just feel so uncomfortably full. And that's kind of, I think, the modern day brain, I guess, signaling of, okay, no, that's it, I'm done. Just when you feel like if you eat any more food, you're going to explode. But that's not how it should be. And that's something that I began to realize the more and more I did this, is that you shouldn't feel so uncomfortably full after you eat. You should feel good and energized, and like you could eat more, but you don't need to. And I think that was one of the keys. Other than that, I didn't have any transitional issues whatsoever, but I only think that's because I had been on such a strict diet for 2 years. So I think if I had gone straight into it from a sad diet, it would be pretty extreme. That being said, even with the paleo, I didn't get any transitional symptoms. So I guess in that sense, I was quite lucky. But I think that a couple of things have started to emerge the more I go, things that maybe have been issues in the past that have never been dealt with, that are now trying to resolve itself and giving me some uncomfortable signaling. I think that's more of what it is.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. So doing a cooking show and everything, that's really cool. And you enjoy doing that. That's awesome. So what kind of meals do you eat now? Do you have 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day? And what kind of foods are you including? Are you including dairy, fish? What kind of things?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was strict and it was just meat. But at that point, when I started, I was eating, I think, more than I do now. I think there was a point where my body just was starved, needed nutrition, and I was extremely stressed out. So I could have easily been eating about 2 kilos of meat a day, and just an embarrassing amount. But now it started to just normalize a lot more. So now it's about 2 meals a day that I eat, and that's kind of happened naturally. And I have heard other people say that as well, but it doesn't feel like I could eat anymore, because I eat 1 meal and I eat enough, and then I'm full, and I'm full for about 7 hours. So there would just be no opportunity for me to eat any more than that. And in terms of what I eat, so I'm very strict in terms of where I source it from. So I do only support farms, but there's a reason behind that, not just for the quality of the meat, but also because I do feel like in this day and age, our food freedom is under threat with everything going on. And I feel like it's very important to support farmers when and where you can. So I always get it from farms, and that way I've also established some amazing relationships with amazing people, which is always helpful. And then when you know the source and you know it's a good, clean source, you can ask for things and feel like it's okay to do it. For example, asking for organ meats. And I do have some organ meats, but it's more rare. At the moment, I've been doing just a lot more red meat, veal. I do have some fish occasionally, not so often. So oysters probably once a week, and then just one type of fish once a week. But normally it's just been red meat, some meat stock, so kind of like chicken stock. But I do prefer having red meat to pork and chicken, although I do sometimes have those as well. In terms of dairy, I don't have any dairy. I don't think supermarket or commercial dairy is very good, just because if it's pasteurized and homogenized, I don't think there's much in there anyway. And obviously I know it can cause issues. It caused me a lot of issues in the past. And even though now I could tolerate it, I just wouldn't have it because I know that it wouldn't serve me in any way. The only dairy that I have been having, also probably rarely, so maybe once a week at most, is kefir, so raw kefir, completely unpasteurized. And so that would only be A2 dairy as well. So raw A2 dairy in the form of either some butter or kefir or raw cream. And that's about it. I don't do any other kind of dairy, and I don't do any cheese or milk. So I kind of just stay on the safe side because I do still have things that I want to heal. And that for me, I think it works best.
Yeah. Do you eat eggs?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. I do eggs, but I cycle eggs. I don't have them every day. I know you can become, from my experience that, you know, in coaching in the past 2 years, I know you can become intolerant to eggs if you overdo it with them. And some people are just intolerant in the beginning anyway. But I have them about twice a week, but when I have them, I have a lot. So I'll probably have about anywhere between 6 to 10 eggs in that one day, and then not have them again for 2 or 3 days and then have them again. But at the moment for January, I'm just trying to do just red meat and see what happens, just meat and fat.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So, do you do any kind of supplements or electrolytes or anything? Have you ever done those?
I don't do any electrolytes or supplements. To be honest with you, I've never done electrolytes. In the beginning, when I was highly deficient coming off the SAD diet, I did supplement because at that point I needed to. Now I'm fine, and so I only do the meat, obviously the food, and then I put mineral drops in my water. So obviously in London the water quality is so bad, I would not touch it from the tap. And obviously buying bottled water continuously is not as economical or cost effective, or good for the environment, even if we're going to go down that route. So I've got a water filtration system, but then I add in the mineral drops back in after.
Okay, so do you drink any other beverages besides the water?
No, just water. Sometimes before training, to avoid always training fasted, I will have a bulletproof coffee, but I don't do coffee every day. So for the most part, it's water, if not that one bulletproof coffee, sometimes before training in the morning.
Okay, and so you said your stomach was flatter and you just felt better? Is that all mainly the things you noticed from going from paleo to carnivore?
Yeah, so that was in the beginning, and then obviously as time went on, the improvements increased. So I could, as I said, I could begin to tolerate dairy, and in the past that was a huge thing for me that I just could not handle at all. Another thing would have been my skin. So although my skin had cleared up just from paleo, I still had some scars, and I still had them even on my legs a little bit, and then those completely disappeared, completely. It was as if it was overnight. My sleep improved as well, and my sleep was okay, but it just improved again. And then other things like, for example, I was always stressed out before, as I kind of briefly mentioned, but I honestly think that I would have had some kind of psychosis or some kind of, what's it called? Kind of like, what's the behavior, not PTSD, some kind of like behavioral disorder. I can't remember the name of it, but, bipolar disorder, because I did have really severe panic and anxiety attacks when I was on the SAD diet. That went as well with paleo, but my brain was under some stress constantly, and I couldn't shake it off. And I do think that if I had continued on a poor diet, then I would have run into some serious mental issues, because even now when I get inflamed, I know that my blood-brain barrier has been crossed, because straight away the first thing it affects, not even my body necessarily, but just my brain. I get so inflamed in the brain if I eat something that's not great, and my mood changes for the entire day. It's literally as if somebody's taken my brain and just replaced it with this irrational anger, fear and anxiety. And I do think that it could have got a lot worse had I not decided to pursue my health. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. because I've never been as calm in my life as I am now. And that's coming at a time when the entire world is in chaos. So I guess that's quite big to say. So that's one of the things. I mean, there are a lot of benefits, and it's kind of a shame because now I think I don't take it for granted, but now they've just become so kind of everyday to me. I mean, just the little things like my hair improving and just more energy, more mental clarity, my eyebrows growing back, like the little things that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but just that happen, and that you just begin to notice over time. And I mean, what I'm excited about is because I haven't been doing this for that long, is just to see what else is going to happen.
Yeah, those are great benefits. And especially the mental part of it, I understand that completely. It's just like you're more level headed or something. I don't know what it's called, but you know, you just feel more balanced in your thinking and not so affected by the world around you as much. I understand that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does anyone else in your household or any of your friends, do they do carnivore?
No, I've tried to get my coach onto it, and he's pretty much carnivore for the most part. Well, actually, I'd say ketovore at this point. He did also see some benefits. As soon as I found out about it, he actually had, I think, one client who had some serious gut issues, and he said to him, okay, that's it, you need to try this carnivore thing. And it did help him. So it's definitely been something that's been beneficial for me to learn about and implement for myself, just because now through my experience, it's just added a whole other level, and it's been able to help these other people as well in a more indirect way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that. So I appreciate you coming to share your journey with us, and I know that it'll help many people to hear what you have experienced. You know, many people go from paleo to keto to carnivore, and it's just a natural progression, and especially if you have any harder difficulties and things to overcome. But I think for anyone, any age, carnivore really is helpful to give you strength and health, and you know, the vegetables are just not necessary. So I appreciate you coming, Annabel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited because I feel like I'm getting onto it at quite a young age. And actually, one thing that I didn't mention, which I think is actually quite important, I don't even know how I forgot this one, but due to how much stress I was under, I did lose my cycle for 1.5 years. And I turned carnivore and it did come back. And people always say you need carbs to bring back a period. So I think that's another thing that I've been able to debunk just from my own experience. And what's weird is that the PMS every month has just got less and less, to the point of there being none. So that to me is just insane. And I know that as a woman, especially, your cycle is the biggest indicator of your hormonal health.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you incorporate a lot of fat into your diet to get your cycle back?
You know, for the most part, it's been 50-50 to fat and protein. I mean, give or take on a couple of days, it might be the other way around. So more protein, other days more fat. But just for the most part, it's probably been about 50-50.
Okay, yeah, that is important. The cycle, and it does indicate about the health for sure. Thank you so much, Annabel. You're awesome, and I appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I hope this does help people.
Sure, it definitely will. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Yes, see you soon. Bye.